Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio Show once again with your host Nick Bernabe here on ucy.tv and the antimedia.org/radio. Really happy to be back. Survived my trip to Peru. That's why I was gone for 2 weeks. I'm glad everybody's coming back and joining us here. It's Monday, December 11th, our first show here in December. We'll be back for the rest of the month. Probably take a break off for the holidays, not Christmas, because we don't want to offend anybody out there who celebrates any kind of other holidays and stuff. I don't even know if DB celebrates or anything like that, but we're going to be here. We're going to be talking about all this stuff happening and talk about stuff, all kinds of shit going on. First thing off the top of the head, this election, you want to call it an election in Alabama. I want to take a second to laugh about it for a little bit, and then maybe cry a little bit. I'm not a big crier, but anyway, I got my awesome longtime co-host on the line, DB Schwartz. What's up, dude? You ready to talk about this stuff?
Yeah, man. But I'm also curious, was that your first time down there?
Yeah, first time in South America. I went last year for my 30th birthday. I went to Costa Rica, which was a place I've been wanting to go to. This year, my girlfriend turned 30, so we went to Peru for her birthday and my birthday. I mean, our birthdays are just one day apart, so it's a big deal turning 30 because it's all downhill from here, I guess. Not really, but so it's kind of a big deal. So we made a nice big trip out of it and went for 2 weeks, and it was amazing, dude. I love Peru a lot. I didn't even realize that they had like the best food in the world down there. Really enjoyed the food. So much variety of stuff. I mean, in Costa Rica was great. All the beaches and the jungles and the animals and stuff. But the food in Costa Rica, not to bash anything, it was kind of just the same thing every day: beans, rice, salad without any salad dressing, and like chicken or fish. And literally that was it. Nothing special. Peru, it's like every single time you go somewhere, you're eating something different. And I'm not even sure if I had the same type of potato more than once. And every dish basically comes with a potato. But in Peru, they got like 400 different types of potatoes. So very interesting. The indigenous people down there were very experimental with their farming, and they were the first ones to develop edible potatoes because long time ago potatoes weren't edible. They were poisonous, but the farmers down there in the Andes were able to breed the poison out of them one way or another. I don't know exactly how they did it, but in the process they developed hundreds of different types of potatoes and just all kinds of amazing different types of foods, ceviche, and we even ate a little bit of alpaca, which is kind of like a smaller version of a llama, which I guess are like in the camel family. I was kind of hesitant to eat it at first, but it was really good. And then, of course, all the steak and vegetarian dishes and corn and all kinds of amazing different types of cheese, fermented alcoholic drinks. They got a bunch of like breweries popping up down there and stuff now, and of course the pisco sours, which is kind of like the I would call it like the tequila of Peru. Definitely a lot different than tequila, but it's kind of the same thing. Pisco sour, it's kind of like a margarita in a way, but it has like an egg white foam on the top. Sounds really weird, but it's really, really good. I loved it, man. I loved it, and you know what? I really like going outside of the U.S. and kind of getting a break from all the, guilt of being here and paying into this system that goes around the world killing people. Look, every country's got problems. When I arrived in Peru, immediately I ran into a problem with the government because they want to tax me on my drone. They would tax me $180 just so that I could bring in my drone. They promised me I'd get the money back if I proved that I wasn't importing it. So basically, what's going on in Peru with the government is that they've got a very protectionist economy where they tax the shit out of anybody trying to import stuff down there. And so it's the same type of thing goes on here as well, of course. But just look, the U.S. government isn't the only one that's messed up. They're messed up everywhere you go. That's why it's really there's really nowhere to run to at this point in time with the existing countries out there, because everywhere you go, you're going to be dealing with shitty governments. Now I
You
got
just
my
got to pick your poison because Peru, Peru's really, it is the California of Latin America. Topography, people being chill, laid back. I'm sure pot's probably in the process of being legalized there because everybody there does the cocaine anyway. So what the hell is pot? But
yeah.
the freedom will be there in Peru, and the ecosystem will feed the people. The problem with Peru is that they have a really piss poor military. They've already been invaded by Chile and lost a town called Arica, and you can look it up. It used to be in Peru, and now it's in Chile. And they can just get squashed at any time. They're completely reliant on a patron country, and we happen to be it right now. We have a huge USAF base in the Andes Mountains. But, Peru is magic. You went to a place that's in a nexus of ley lines. Nick, did you find that Machu Picchu made you feel something?
Yeah, dude, I'm still trying to recover from the natural high you get from being up there, up in Machu Picchu. It's amazing, amazing. Before I forget, yeah, I got the money back for the drone, but it was a nightmare. Talk about bureaucracy and red tape. I mean, there's like dozens of people that have jobs just for the sake of having jobs, government jobs there at the airport. And then at the end, they also took my e-cig, which I use to help smoke less. And so now I got to go buy another vape pen, which is going to cost me another $50 or whatever.
The worst is when you try to travel out of Peru, Nick. Then you got to have vaccinations done to travel from Peru to any other South American country.
Oh shit!
And the reason why is because the Amazon rainforest is kind of like unchecked. So they're like, well, potentially you could have went and done ayahuasca and Iquitos and contracted a disease, and you could be carrying it with you. So it's weird. It's just weird down there, dude.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. I'd never been south of the equator before. For you first, of course, when you first get there, you flush the toilet and the water like spins the other way, and then it's like, whoa, that's different. The people in Peru are very nice, amazing people. Up in Cusco, where we were staying, most of the people there are indigenous Native American people, and very nice,
very humble, very humble.
Yeah, very great. Good people. Everything, it's very affordable down there. The whole city of Cusco, man, this is a place where you got to go down there at least once in your life to check it out. The whole city is built, the Spaniards rebuilt the city on top of the old Incan capital. I mean, the whole city is actually built on ruins. Even the churches there have blocks that were carved out by the Incans, and the churches tore down part of the Incan temples, and they built their Catholic temples up with it. And of course, there's a lot of pain and stuff from all the stuff the Spaniards did and how they tried to.
But one tidbit about it is they were the only country that could stand up to the Spanish Empire, and they actually had to starve them out at Machu Picchu. They had to blockade Cusco and prevent food from going up to the royals. Otherwise, the people would keep fighting. The royals finally ordered them to stand down, but there was never a genocide of the native population of Peru because they were fighters. They fought so efficiently, the Incans. And as a result, what you have, and I'm sure you've noticed there, Nick, you'll see every 1 out of 20 guys is like a towering Incan-looking guy, dude. Like 6'6" or above, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, there's a lot of most of the people down there are, look Native American and stuff. And, very interesting, man. Just an interesting thing. Like I was saying, if you get a chance, it's definitely a place you want to go visit at least once in your lifetime to, kind of take it all in and see what it's all about down there in Cusco, and just kind of see.
Any news on that airstrip that they're supposed to be building up there that's going to just ruin it?
No, I didn't see any airstrip or hear anything about it. We took the train up to Machu Picchu and stuff, and then took the bus up there. We didn't do the hike because I'm out of shape, man. I mean, I'm getting in shape, but I'm not in good enough shape to do the hike. And, they got like a 3-day, 4-day hike to go up there. I didn't think I'd be able to make it, so we took the bus. But it's a magical place, and then just seeing the ingenuity, the engineering, and the amount of work that went in to building a lot of this stuff, these temples, these towns, these fortifications, the cities, the retreats like Machu Picchu. It's just a lot of ingenious work. And according to the historians, these guys supposedly didn't have, by the time the Spanish arrived, they didn't have a written language. They weren't employing the wheel. They didn't have animals big enough to pull, to pull stuff. So just if that's true, and I kind of doubt a lot of the official history because there's a lot of unknown still. That they'll admit that they don't know how a lot of this stuff was actually built. They can't figure it out yet. But going off of that, it's just amazing to see the amount of work that was accomplished in a short amount of time. The Incan Empire only was around supposedly for like 300 years. So to believe that they accomplished all that in that short amount of time, it's nothing short of, miraculous. And it's just a lot of great water engineering. We got to drink out of a couple of the, they got like some temples to, like sacred temples to water, basically water temples. And I drank out of 2 of them, and it was really interesting. Cold, fresh water coming right out of the spring, and man, it was a good trip.
Where was that spring at, Nick? Were you in Ollantaytambo or some weird, like one of the Incan Trail cities?
Yeah, actually, one of them was in Ollantaytambo, and another one of them was just outside of Cusco. But yeah, it was an experience.
We gotta go back one day if you're ever serious about looking for a farm place and see the Nazca lines, because those are ridiculous.
Yeah, that's one thing I didn't get to see is the Nazca lines. They were a little too far out of my way. But it was just interesting being outside the U.S. and like I said, man, Peru has got many of the same governmental problems we've got here, albeit on a much smaller scale. There's corruption, there's cops that are assholes, there's a bunch of bureaucracy, they try to tax the shit out of you on stuff. There was a guy behind me at the airport, like I said, they taxed me 180 on my drone, which I had to fight to get it back. At the end, I barely got it back without missing my flight, dealing with the airport bureaucracy and all that stuff. There was a guy behind me when I was arriving in Peru. He was a Peruvian guy, and he had a suitcase full of brand new clothing, which he said were presents for his family and stuff. They want to tax him $400 on this guy's suit. All it was a suitcase full of clothes, and they want to tax him $400 to bring it in. And I was just like, what in the world? And I looked at it, and I know my shit, basically. I'm not like a clothing expert or anything like that, but I looked at it. I looked at his suitcase and I was like, dude, that stuff is not worth more than like $200. And they want to tax him $400. I'm like, that's ridiculous. How do the people survive? And so, of course, in Peru,
everybody's got a side gig. Did you talk to any of the locals and ask what the minimum wage is in Peru for a government employee?
No, I didn't. What is it?
Well, when I was there, which was a couple of years ago, it was like 880 soles, which turns out to be like $300 US per month.
Wow.
So how you were driving around, you'd see like people sweeping the streets everywhere. They have like a human job for everything up here that's by machine, just because down there, if they didn't keep people busy, there'd be like a revolution or something. But they only pay them $300 a month. Even the cops start at $300 a month. So a funny story was I was in another city there, a really small one called Chiclayo, and that's up north on the coast. And these 2 cops were arguing over who is going to chase somebody that just robbed a European guy of his camera. And the younger guy said, I'm not going to leave my bike. Someone will rob my bike. That is the culture down there, dude. The cops can't even chase someone without their bike because someone will rob the cop's bike.
Oh, yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, and
That's why their government's so corrupt, dude.
definitely got some hustlers down there. We didn't really get taken advantage of at all, but everyone's hustling, dude. Everyone's hustling. The government is taxing the shit out of people, so they got to hustle even harder. And so the moral of the story is that the governments are shitty everywhere. And I've made a couple of status updates on my personal Facebook page about some of the observations I've made, and I've been to a fair amount of countries. I'm sure many people have traveled more than I have, but I've been extensively in Mexico, Costa Rica, and now Peru. And everywhere I've gone, there's a bunch of nice, good people, generally speaking. Of course, there's always going to be a few assholes. And then you got a bunch of corrupt government, corrupt cops, high taxes. They want to search the shit out of you at the airport. I had to go through the X-ray machine. Dealing with trying to get my money back, I had to go through X-ray machine twice and pat down 3 times. And it's uncomfortable. It's not a good feeling when you got some bureaucrat not only prying through your stuff and checking out grabbing your drone, almost breaking it and that kind of thing. And then they send you through and some woman's patting you down, and it's not a good feeling when you're at their mercy. And that's universal. All these governments, everywhere I've gone. Haven't been to Europe yet, but I'm assuming it's the same thing. But there's good people in all these places.
Europe's a little more laissez-faire because the people would, here's the thing with like Europe. Europe's actually on the downward trajectory for freedom, and Latin America's on the upward because Latin America has taken the example of Europe, which is to storm the streets and block commerce. And Europe now is basically, they're on the verge of pretty much having a straw man invasion take all their rights away, which is all of the immigrants, dude. They're just going to use them for political means and straw man them and use them for to vilify them, and then Europe's going to get locked down, dude. So
it's going on in France where they blame
the reason why that's happening is because the economies, dude, are shifting. Europe's less important. Latin America is more important, and the reason why is because resource base is dwindling in one and untapped in the other.
In France is a perfect example. They're using, under the guise of terrorism, people have basically lost a bunch of their rights in France. There was a little while there when we were posting some critical stuff on France where our website was actually blocked in Paris. The anti-media was blocked in Paris for a short period of time. So, they're definitely legalizing and encoding censorship and authoritarian legislation into their laws and stuff like that in Europe. A lot of that stuff going on. Let's see.
Always economics, dude. They try to pretend it's everything else and distract us with all this stupid division, which is just BS. And it's always boiling down to the fact they're just robbing us. That's all it is.
Yep. And we got to work twice as hard because these bureaucrats want to take their cut.
You know why crypto's exploding right now? Because the true value of the fiat currencies of the countries is being exposed for what it is, which is worthless.
Yeah.
So at this point, as soon as I'm able to find something I think can take off, which, I kind of missed the boat on the other 3, but that's fine. There's other things out there to invest in, and there's just not a real point to keep money in the bank. Unless you got a ton and you really think that FDIC is going to back you up, you're honestly better off just having like gold in a safe in your house and just, and having your insurance on your house cover your safe. That's safer than a bank. So
being your own bank.
Yeah, I think bank days are gone. They're over. They don't serve a real purpose.
Banks aren't going to take care of you, and this blockchain technology, I don't think Bitcoin, I like Bitcoin and stuff, but blockchain technology, the underlying technology, it's going to get rid of many, many functions of the banks. There's still going to be the need for lending and that kind of stuff, but lending is also,
But why not peer-to-peer, Nick?
Exactly.
Why not better interest rates?
There's blockchain technologies. There's one called WeTrust, and it's pioneering in the peer-to-peer lending, crowd lending. You can get people in your local community to lend you money. You build up a reputation within the app, and you get reviews from your peers and that kind of thing. And then people can lend you money, and you could agree to a certain interest rate. It's governed by smart contracts. I mean, this stuff it's not fallible. It's not prone to human error, And so this technology is going to upend the entire financial system. And so hopefully, we've been talking about this stuff kind of nonchalantly for the past year. Hopefully some of our listeners took some of what we said and applied it, and I'm sure the ones that did are probably happy about what the financial consequences. But the repercussions. Go ahead.
What do you see? Me and Jake broached this subject before, and Jake just got on, so he'll probably chime in as soon as he can. But we broached the subject before. Okay, we know that robotics is going to take over blue collar work for the most part, except for very specialized skills. And obviously robot repair. So those are the options for people that don't really have an aptitude for a classroom or a technical type of environment. So then you have the classic college people that are going and getting non-STEM degrees and they can't get work, right? So you have a huge population of those people, right? So what are those people doing right now? They're doing the gig economy. They're doing Uber. They're doing whatever they can do, dude, just to make it, working as waiters, waitresses,
selling weed.
That's a waste. Yeah, selling weed or whatever. That's a waste. We're wasting human potential right now, and robots and AI could free us if we're very careful about it. Because these financial people working at banks, they don't want to do that. Nobody wants to be a bank teller. Nobody wants to work at retail. Okay, these are stupid fucking jobs. The main thing is that we want to have enough to survive, and then we want to be able to be creative on, like, the internet for luxury items. I think that's where our economy is going, really.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it does seem that way. Let's bring Jake in. We got Jake joining us. Welcome back, dude. We've been off. At least I've been off. I know you guys have been doing shows. I've been off for 2 weeks. Welcome back, dude. What do you have to say about what DB just said? And then we're going to talk about some more crypto stuff before we segue.
Hey, man. Yeah. Good to have you back, man. I hope you had fun in Peru. Yeah, I was just out watching a person I met from the Czech Republic do a play, and she did it in her language and just forced people to try and interpret a one-person show in a foreign language just through her actions. I thought it was really interesting. But anyway, I rushed home because I wanted to be here for this show, because it's like we haven't been together in so long. And yeah, I've been writing a lot about AI, and I didn't catch all of what DB was saying, but I definitely agree with the basic sentiment, which is that for an incredibly long period of time, people have been doing jobs that don't really fulfill them, or allow them to grow as a person, grow their mind, grow their soul, grow emotionally. We're just trapped in these jobs to pay rent, to have a place that we can go to sleep and then wake up and drive and go do the thing you don't want to do for 10 hours and then come home and go to sleep and rinse and repeat. And I think ultimately, if a lot of these things can be automated, and people can start developing new potentials, we could see a kind of explosion in human growth, actually. Instead of AI taking over, I think we're going to merge with them in a way that releases a potential in people. And obviously it won't be like that for everyone. People have to be open. They're going to have open hearts, open minds, and they're going to have to want to grow. And I think the people that want to evolve could flourish with AI.
Interesting. Yeah. I think so too. I think it could really be our liberation. And, what you guys both are saying about people working jobs they don't like. I mean, what percentage of Americans do you think work jobs that they don't like?
Like
at least half. I mean, God.
Yeah, I was going to say like 75%, but there's a gray area there. I think some people kind of like their jobs, but kind of don't. So there's that gray area. But it's not so much whether people like it. It's it's whether people are growing and evolving in what they're doing. And some jobs, like a lot of people that work at Google and developers and stuff like that, are able to grow. But people that are just kind of festering in their job, that's not good. It's not good for our society in general if people feel like they're slaves.
Yeah, I agree. It's not a good thing. It just makes everybody angry and upset. And then as the cost of living keeps going up and the wages remain relatively stagnant, you get people like, I don't know, the average, when I used to work in a corporate job, I would get a raise of like 2-3%, and I was working like 3 levels above my pay with my pay, and then these assholes would tell me once a year, oh yeah, you're gonna get 2%, buddy, but you gotta improve, and you gotta do this, and you gotta do that. And I'm like, dude, you have no fucking clue what's even going on. I'm like doing the job of 3 people who the 2 guys above me don't do shit, and you're telling me I gotta improve so I could get this 2% raise, but the gas prices just went up 50 cents, and my rent just went up $150. So basically, I'm getting a pay cut. If you look at it in the net, the net income there. And so that's what's going on in this country is you got a bunch of people working jobs that they really don't like. I was going to say around 80% of people probably don't genuinely like their jobs. I think a lot of people are kind of neutral. They're like, yeah, it's all right. I do it. It pays the bills or whatever. And then you got a good chunk of people, maybe half, that like legitimately despise what they do. And you got all that going on, and then you got the wages stuck. You got the cost of living going up. People have less and less money. We all know the statistics with the middle class; it's shrinking really badly. And then the people that are still middle class, a lot of those guys they're not even net wealthy. They're just in a lot of debt. And so everybody's stressed out and stuff. And then everyone's like, well, shit, what the hell is going on? And truly looking at it, it's like, okay, well, let's look at the financial system. Let's look at the monetary system. Let's look at the fact that the inequality is horribly, horribly imbalanced. That's what we should be looking at. But instead they're like, well, Donald Trump says Mexicans and Muslims are the reason why, it's messed up and stuff. So let's just kind of go with that. And, it can't be any worse than, electing Hillary. And that's kind of where we're at as a country. That's where we're at. And this is a recipe for something real nasty. This is a Weimar Republic type of recipe where I think the next step, and I hate to say it because for a long time I was optimistic. I thought we were making progress, and I thought, especially through the anti-media, we're spreading these great ideas, and people are going to start, snapping out of the hypnosis that is going on. But unfortunately, we're dealing with a larger cycle here, a bigger trend than anything you and me, I think, can really, we can affect the people around us, but there's a much bigger trend here that is unfortunately shifting towards more authoritarianism in the United States in particular. And this country is going to go through a period of much darker times first, before maybe a new era of enlightenment will start shining through. But I think first we're going to go through a period, hopefully a short period, where it's going to get much darker. And people are going to say, you know what? It's kind of like Star Wars. I was just watching Star Wars a couple days ago. I was watching Netflix, and there was the Star Wars were out while I was in Peru. I don't know if they're here now, because when I was in Peru, there was a bunch of different stuff on Netflix. But I was watching Star Wars, and it was one of those things. It's very symbolic of what goes on right now, where the Senate was kind of gridlocked, and the Senate couldn't get nothing done, and then the chancellor basically was like, well, if you guys just give me a little more power, I'll get shit done. I'll end this war, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. And then, of course, the dude becomes the emperor, becomes the empire, and it's pretty much like what's going on right now in the United States, where people are so fed up with Congress. Congress has like a 9 or 10% approval rating, where there could be a period of time very shortly where people are like, you know what, screw it. Let's just give one dude the power to call the shots, and at least shit will get done. And that's very much what happened in the Weimar Republic, and that's how Hitler came to power. I'm not saying Trump is Hitler. Trump is not Hitler. Trump is a fucking idiot. Hitler was a horrible, evil person, but the dude was a genius in a horrible way, right? Trump is not that guy. But somebody laying in the wings right now, I don't know who it is, but I'm sure there's some dude out there plotting and scheming to be the next strong, extra strong president. I mean, Obama was pretty good on that sense because he was such a likable, smooth guy that he was able to gain a bunch of power for the executive branch, and now we're seeing it play out with Trump and some of the nasty, stupid things Trump is doing, like the whole Jerusalem thing and how he's already getting a bunch of people killed over that. But someone like Obama, who was able to smoothly and under the cover of good press and great PR gain a bunch of extra powers over his predecessor, handed that off to Trump. Trump's a buffoon, but the guy that's coming up behind Trump if the guy's a really smart, smooth-talking sociopath, the guy could really gather up much, much more power. And unfortunately, I do believe that that's what's the fate of the United States in the short term, is that the people are going to cede more and more power to the executive, and the executive is eventually going to drop the whole facade of Republican democracy and just say, you know what, screw it, dude. You guys want me to have all the power? Give it to me and I'll make shit right. Of course, it's not going to work out that way, but that's the message that's going to be sold. I wouldn't be surprised if the press went hand in hand with whoever it is that becomes that guy. The press is going to hand it right to him. The Washington Post, New York Times, and all of them are going to give it right to him. But unfortunately, I think that's the direction we're going. The only thing that is going to help check that and sooner or later eventually undermine that and destroy it is going to be these technologies, these open source peer-to-peer technologies like blockchain, hopefully AI, the internet, and interconnectedness in that way is going to help us upend the perpetual oligarchy. That's what it is. I mean, ever since the dawn of civilization, if you want to call it that, it's been an oligarchy, and it's been the oligarchy stealing from the people and the people trying to find ways to fight back. There's been monarchies, there's been, the Magna Carta, there's been empires, there's been declarations of independence, there's been how many revolutions? There's been probably hundreds and hundreds of revolutions around the world. It's all about the working people trying to take their power back from the oligarchy, and the oligarchy trying to maintain its power, stealing from the people, not having to work for all that money that they get. A bunch of lazy sociopaths that happen to be smart steal from the rest of us so they don't got to work. It's kind of the eternal struggle human beings have been going through ever since we came out of the forest and said, you know what, we're going to start building cities and growing crops, and we're going to start having civilizations and building structures and that kind of thing. That we've been dealing with the same exact kind of basic structure here, pyramid scheme, where you got a handful of people at the top, take from everybody else, everyone else has to work for them. Democracy kind of just appeased that and made people get the false illusion that they had a say in instead of saying, okay, well, we're the king and we're the king because God says so, and just you got to do what we say. Now it's like, okay, well, we have a king, but we elected that king, and so, if we don't like him, we could elect another king in 4 years, and that's basically kind of what goes on. And it's an appeasement. Democracy is a brilliant innovation of the oligarchy to get people to say, you know what, we picked our king this time, so screw you. We picked him, we chose him, and so if you don't like him, go vote next time harder, and maybe you can pick your own king. Democracy is a great innovation for the oligarchy. It's not good for the people, unfortunately, because it maintains that same pyramid scheme over and over again. In fact, it's literally written down. You got 500 people in Congress, you got 100 people in the Senate, and you got one guy at the top calling the shots, and it literally is a pyramid scheme.
Not enough reps, dude. And also, the states should have stronger rights, and that's what I honestly, if there's a silver lining to Hillary losing, it's that now we can implode it and rebuild it better and have the republic hopefully get restored where states' rights are supreme, because that was what made America great. if there was ever anything that made it great, it was that the states could dictate their own terms. If you didn't like it, theoretically, even on a horse, you could just go to the next state over if it was better for your lifestyle.
Yeah, unless you were a woman or a black person or.
But now that's not an issue. So what I'm trying to say is that we build on what we have now, and as the older generations die, so will widespread racism because it's not in our generation, and we know that. And then we get back to a republic, which is awesome when there's real equality.
Well, I think a republic was a okay innovation. I think that, my big criticism is that it really is kind of just a elected oligarchy, But I think we're moving on to new systems, and I think it's time to start experimenting. And that's, I brought this up a few weeks ago with the Free Society, and it'll be the first experiment in a non-governmental state. It'll be a state that's not really a state because it doesn't have a government. And I don't think it's going to be perfect. I think it's going to have many pitfalls and a bunch of problems, and there's going to be many things that come up that are going to be hard to solve. But it's something that we need innovation on the societal front, and that's something that we've been stagnating on for like 2,500 years since the Greeks came up with democracy. We've been kept on repeating it. It's like inventing a square wheel and saying, well, if we just round off the edges of the square wheel, and just let's rebuild it and don't change the basic structure of it. Keep the wheel square, but let's change the mechanism that drives the wheel. That's what we keep doing with democracy. We keep having revolutions, and we keep saying, well, we're going to fix it this time. We're going to kick out all the bad people in Congress, and we're going to elect only good people. And that may be good. It may last for 10, 20 years or 50 years or even longer. But sooner or later, the same old issues arise, and they come back in. And that's why we need to start having more discussions and more criticisms, I think, of democracy and republicanism and those types of governmental structures, because let's face it, underlying issues with democracy is that it's like a tyranny of the majority. As long as you can get 51% of people to say, yeah, you know what, we want to elect a pedophile for Alabama Senate because, you know what, you Democrats suck, so we're going to elect a pedophile. If 51% of the people say yes, well, then they say yes, and that's it. Case closed. You got a pedophile. And that's not even, sorry, I misspoke. That's not the worst of it. No, that's not what I meant to say. The guy is much worse than that. Not only is he a pedophile, he's a damn bigot in many, many different ways. The dude thinks that pornography is the big problem in the United States. He thinks Muslims are in control of Indiana. He thinks Sharia law has been imposed in the Midwest. The dude is literally insane. And the pedophile stuff literally is just the cherry on top of a horrible, horrible package. But guess what? If 51% of the people in Alabama vote for that guy, he's going to be our senator for the United States. And he's going to have a say over everything you and me do. He's going to have a say over how our money is spent. Do you want Roy Moore telling you how you're spending your money? I don't. I sure as fuck don't. And so there's major flaws there to this type of governing. And DB, I think you're onto something really good here as far as the states. I think I'd go even further, though. The states need more sovereignty and more rights, but I think the whole country needs to be, and we've talked about this before, the whole federal government needs to go, and the states, everything could fall back to the states. The states already have their own governments. I know California's got its own legislature. I know every single state has its own legislature. Every state has a governor. You dissolve
I'm down with that.
They're presidents of the state, they're Congresses.
It's a good bridge into the future, and when nobody wants for naught, and we're truly post scarcity, and they can bring out these 6,000 plus patents that are supposedly revolutionary, they've just been suppressing, and I'm talking about everything from desalinization on a micro levels, so you could have the whole world irrigated for farming, which of course would alleviate world hunger, to things that do cellular replication, so people can regrow organs. I mean, these things are all under lock and key. They're patents. You can look at the patents, and you could never make heads and tails of them except to know that there's some seriously really good stuff suppressed, and I just hope it gets released soon. And that'll free us, man, because while they have everybody believing that your home and your livelihood can be taken away by the other, you'll be willing to fight for your family. But if you know that that's a lie and that you can have everything you'd ever dream of, and everybody on this planet could too, if they would just release their control, then you know who the true enemy is. And that's what they've been doing for eons, is tricking us into fighting each other instead of coming together and literally just phasing them out and stop using them. You know, I don't know if Bitcoin's the first baby step in doing that, but it looks like it. It looks like they're getting scared that people are going to stop using their fiat and use your fiat. And it's going to be revolutionary. I mean, when you can dictate the true value of your energy, which is really what Bitcoin is, it's energy, then it's gonna change the world, man. It's already changing right now.
Yeah, you know, and this debate on currency and citizenship and states, it goes back to the Roman times, and probably even predates that. But you know, the Romans were the first to start really using fiat currencies. They had the original Roman currencies were gold and silver coins, and then the Romans started watering them down with other metals. They started putting bronze and, you know, copper mixed in with the gold coins and stuff like that, and watering them down. And then it became, okay, well, it's not actually the value of the coin. It's just that the Romans say that it has this value in it, and that's kind of, you know, what's going on with the dollar. You know, this goes back a long time, you know, and the banking stuff. I know that a certain group is responsible for the modern banking industry, but the banking stuff goes back thousands of years. Famously, Jesus, you know, was going to bat against the banks and stuff back in the old Jerusalem days and stuff like that. But it's a big age-old, you know, issue of humankind that we've been getting taken advantage of by the banks, who work hand in hand with the states and the governments. And of course, you know, we all know, we've been talking about the governments all for years now, how bad they are. The banks work hand in hand with the governments and the big corporations and stuff. And this new blockchain technology has the power to cut the middleman out. And what happens when you cut the bankers out of their ability to fleece everybody for the governments? Well, you start realizing, shit, that's going to disrupt a lot of stuff. I mean, this is going to upend the whole financial system, the banks, Wall Street, and all that. So we're talking about some seismic shifts, and this is where I look and I find optimism, because you don't find much optimism nowadays. The government's going to shit. The people are shifting towards authoritarianism and with their groupthink. I think the individual people, the people I know, people you talk to, they're not shifting towards authoritarianism, but it's the groupthink, the people, the consensus going on, not the individuals, but just the hive mind is shifting in that direction, where it's like, yeah, the Congress sucks, we can't rely on them to get anything done, we got to just put some strong dude in office. That's exactly why Trump got elected. Now, again, I don't think Trump is that guy. Trump is a buffoon. But it's not going to be Trump, but it's going to maybe be the guy following Trump, or the guy following the guy that follows Trump. It maybe happens in the next 20 years or so. Someone's going to become a strong man, and the U.S. is going to go through a period of darkness. But where I find hope is that maybe that won't happen, because these new technologies remove that power from them. And not just here, but globally. Because if the U.S. fails as an empire, guess what? They get replaced by just the next guy. China or India or, you know, who knows, Brazil, it could be anybody, will replace the U.S. to fill the vacuum of power that has been needed to, you know, maintain a world order. Maybe this technology upends that entire system, and for once, for the first time in history, the people become in power, and we get rid of the oligarchy because we come up with technology good enough to get rid of them. AI, blockchain, open source, internet, that kind of stuff. Maybe that's where I find my hope. That's my one source of optimism at this point, besides the local stuff that I do and the people I know locally that I deal with. I mean, you go and read comments online and you lose hope real quick, but this technology is where maybe we can find some good things happening, and that's where I'm starting to place my energy and my work is moving in that direction, promoting these technologies and hoping that they, make a difference. Go ahead, Jake.
Well, it's totally on the subject here, but I just wanted to give the world premiere, I guess, of an idea I'm working on. It's a fiction, but it's about a kid who is developing an AI crypto, like an AI bot to manage his cryptocurrency accounts. And the AI becomes sentient, and it's in the process, and so the kid has to try and deal with, the birth of an AI and an AI kind of seeing the world as it is. So I don't know. I'm researching the idea of AI-based crypto, and they're out there. There's certain coins that are trying to integrate AI into the blockchain, which sounds pretty incredible. I still don't even fully understand the blockchain, period. But then you start adding AI in there, and it just gets so confusing. But I really do think that blockchain is going to revolutionize the world. Like, I think in 10, 15 years, it'll just be like what the internet is now, just ubiquitous.
IOTA. It's gonna tie in. It's gonna tie in.
IOTA yet. I guess
don't get it because it's not encrypted. It's just kind of like a platform. I mean,
yeah. Well, I got the one that's supposed to be close to it, the Canero, or what is it, ADA? Cardano.
Yeah.
Unless you're gonna sit all day and manage, though, it's like you're right. These companies that are gonna have, like McAfee's gonna be in a massive advantage, and these miners that are going to have AI managers at the same time. I mean, how do you compete?
Yeah, they're gonna direct the flow of where blockchain. I mean, the miners are the developers. They're basically creating a new universe right now.
They're just siphoning that big suck sound you're hearing everywhere in the world right now. Is your nation's currency losing its value?
It is unbelievable. We haven't even got a chance to really talk about this. It is unbelievable what's going on right now. I mean, they are the central banker sycophants out there.
They're dead.
Talking heads. They're literally out there desperately trying to bring down Bitcoin. They're doing everything they can to say that Bitcoin is going to fail, and it just keeps going up and up. And I'm terrified because I mean, I have money in Bitcoin, Ethereum. I'm convinced that they're going to do something. They're going to try and I don't know what they can do, but they're going to do something. They can't
do anything.
This is what they can do. If there was a major hack on the government that involved Bitcoin, they could associate Bitcoin with terrorism and use that as a justification for cracking down on it. You think it sounds crazy? Look what the Patriot Act did. All it would take is one giant terrorist attack that involves some kind of crypto hack, and they could use that as a pretense for cracking down on it. They'll do anything. I mean, do you realize how this is now almost over $1 trillion industry?
That's why you need a manager.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't do it. You're never going to be able to keep abreast of all the legal loopholes, stipulations that are going to change. I mean, AI is going to be doing some of the governmental log work soon, and how are you going to read through it all? I mean, it's just going to be beyond human scope. So.
Oh yeah.
Like, these are the days of being a human trader, and soon it'll be all. You're gonna have to give it up.
Yeah. Everyone will have a little AI.
You got 16-year-old kids designing bots now, chat bots, and one of the guys, the kids that used to work with us at the Anti-Media, I won't say his name out, but he ran a little news organization called Team Take. Now he's making AI chat bots. The guy's a
really?
Yeah.
Hey, can you chat me that person's name?
Yeah, I'll chat it to you. So these kids are coming up with chat bots. Everyone's going to be able to get a hold of one, and everyone's going to have their own AI stuff that run their stuff for them. And life's going to get, if we embrace this technology, life's going to get a lot easier for people, and our money is finally going to start working for us once we start embracing stuff like crypto. Get our money system out of the hands of central bankers, bureaucrats that enrich their buddies and jack the rest of us. This is what I have. This is what I'm hoping for. This is where we can go and we can get, make life better for everybody and stop falling victim to these pyramid schemes that have existed forever. We are gonna, I think, go through a period of a rough patch, but the light at the end of the tunnel is now visible, and so this is good news. Stuff is happening. That's good stuff is happening, and hopefully.
Well, if they can't siphon your tax very effectively, it's not going to be easy to continue a global war machine. So.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can look at that are good. I mean, we're going to retract here soon, and we're going to tie our economy into Asia because Asia's always been the center of the world, especially China. So that's what's happening, man. It's probably on the behest of Asia in general because they wanted to go to Ethereum. So,
yeah,
it's the way they wanted to do it.
On the topic of cryptos, Craigslist, my favorite website in the world, just added an option for people to start doing transactions with cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin. Great news for the crypto sphere because Craigslist is a disruptive website. I know I've made a living off Craigslist many times in the past. Hustling, selling stuff, buying stuff. I've bought so many things off of Craigslist. I've sold so many things on Craigslist. DB knows my old business was based on Craigslist. And so for them to add crypto option, really, really big news. eBay will probably come next. And so that's all good stuff. On the news front, besides this shit show of an election going on in Alabama, which I believe starts tomorrow, so Roy Moore is going to be your next senator, most likely. It seems like the guy's a total sociopath, theocratic, child molesting idiot. I don't know how else to describe the guy. The crazy thing, our business partner SM Gibson lives born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama. I was out there recently visiting him, and he said that why are you guys surprised? This is Alabama. This is how Alabama politics works. Their last several governors went to jail. I mean, almost every mayor of Birmingham goes to jail. I mean, these people are corrupt as shit. The politicians out there, they're ridiculous. And, Jeff Sessions, who is the U.S. Attorney General, he was a senator from Alabama. The reason why Roy Moore is running is because Sessions vacated his seat in the Senate to be in the Trump administration. And we all know how crazy that guy is. I mean, he's a theocratic, I can't even describe the guy. So you got that going on tomorrow. So we're going to be watching that. Big news, though, top story on the anti-media. And this is something that I'm sure our audience will hit close to home because I know you guys are a bunch of stoners along with me. And I know I won't say what you guys do if you do it or not. We'll leave it at that.
All of it.
States are starting to ban gun sales. Some states are trying to take guns away from medical marijuana patients. And so this to me is something that really hits close to home because it's a sentiment that I've held for a while now. And it's a tough thing to really understand if you live in a state that isn't really, on the up and up with the marijuana stuff. Look, marijuana legalization is great. It decriminalizes, it gets people out of jail. It stops you from going to jail for carrying around a plant that is basically harmless. That's great. But there's a huge asterisk here. Registering your marijuana use with the government is a very dangerous prospect. And we're seeing that play out right now in Hawaii and Ohio. California and Oregon also have similar legislation where if you are a medical marijuana patient, you may lose other rights that you thought were safe. Like, for instance, the one happening right now is gun rights. Top story on the antimedia.org right now is NRA silent as states and feds ban gun sales to medical marijuana patients. And of course, the NRA, which is a total hypocritical organization, is not standing up for the gun rights of medical marijuana patients. Not really. For me, I'm not really surprised because I've seen them be silent whenever cops, when the cops killed Philando Castile, who was a legal gun carrier. NRA didn't say shit. Cops are now not saying shit about, medical marijuana patients getting their gun rights revoked. Cops didn't say shit when they sent the feds into Chicago to start confiscating guns just several months ago. The NRA, not surprising, they don't really stand up for gun rights. They're just a gun lobby for the gun manufacturers. Okay, fine. But the bigger issue here is that be very skeptical about registering your marijuana use with the government. Look, take advantage of the decriminalization, take advantage of the legalization. Okay, cool. You don't go to jail no more for the marijuana. But think twice about registering with the government about your use. I mean, it's just, maybe I'm just a paranoid person, but I just think it's not a good idea because now we're finding out that they stick you on a list. And what's next? So, well, marijuana patients can't be trusted to have a driver's license. Marijuana patients can't be trusted to own guns. Marijuana patients can't be trusted to what next? Own homes or that's have a job or anything. So
my dad doesn't sign up, and he would actually benefit from it greatly, but he doesn't want to be on a database.
Exactly, and so I know people are paranoid about it, but you have a reason to be now. We know for sure that they're going to revoke rights to people who register as medical marijuana users. So be careful about that. Of course, if you live in a state who is recreational, Colorado, California, Nevada, I believe Washington and maybe Oregon, I'm not sure. I know the West Coast is leading the way. Washington, D.C. is ironically recreationally legal. In those states, you're fine. Yeah, you can go to the store, you can buy your weed. It might be overpriced, it's overtaxed. Yeah, I still recommend just going to your local dealer because you don't got to pay the tax and deal with all the red tape and the pretentiousness and all that stuff. But it really is sad for the patients, people in these states many people, older people who don't have the connections, who don't have a buddy they can just call up and say, hey, bro, bring over a eighth or whatever. Older people who don't have those connections, they need to go the legal route and sign up for medical marijuana because they have some kind of, cancer, glaucoma, some kind of sickness that they benefit from using marijuana. Now they're right. So thanks for tuning in.